Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on November 19th, 2024 at approximately 4:30 p.m. PST. Now, I've returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is, returned for a lot of reasons, but I have chosen to make this my life's journey. To remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I built myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every movement by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they have continued to work for me and have worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Looks like we're going to have fun with the throat today. Callie, how you doing? You are in with the goal today. Now, today we are actually going to be focusing on leadership and how and influencing the world around you. Renee, you are in with the silver. How you doing? Hopefully things are going well. And I've already been on the horn with Storm. He is taking care of the back end for us. And LA Moon is right there to keep an eye on whether or not I'm going to drop dead. And if I do, well, that'd be a different type of show. Joe, you are in with bronze. How you doing, Joe? And Rachel, you're in with honorable mention. Glad you could join us. I figured yesterday we were talking about colonization and the whole 9 yards and the ideology of it. Well, I got looking into it. And it seems, according to the Western dictionaries here, and I'm hoping it's different elsewhere, but it seems the only difference between colonization and invasion is the tools used. Apparently, according to the dictionary, colonization boils down to moving in and by political influence, by coercion, take over a place. Okay? With invasion, you do it with guns. Now, I would love it if somebody would point out a difference between the two. They're both taking away other people's freedom. To me, I guess my understanding of colonization, the way I've always looked at it, has been more like homesteading. Get set up, get moved in, make yourself at home. Now, here's the kicker. Today, we're looking at leadership. Yesterday, I told you I was going to have this counter taken care of. As you can see, gone. Okay? The stuff that didn't belong there is no longer there. This is what I mean. This is what I'm referring to about the idea of leadership. If you're going to tell somebody, this is what we're working on, it is best you start working on it, at least in my eyes. Now, maybe I'm a bit obtuse. I was under the understanding that colonization was not an aggressive act. According to the dictionary, apparently it is. Okay. Now, the reality of it is this. I'm not here to help people sort out, that word is written wrong, that word's written wrong. I'm looking at the action that we're all putting forth. So I did go about yesterday. I mentioned I was going to lay things out. I've got everything broken down into shelf by shelf. Now, if I look at that, what do we got here? Not the sleep tracker. Well, let's open that. We open up Empire. And where are we? There we are. That's 135 we got. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just doing a quick count. I should have done this before, but what do we got? There we are. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20. Okay, so out of the 126 different little pockets, drawers, shelves, little cubby holes, 126, I've got 26 of them done. So I'm about a fifth of the way through the office in one day. Okay, this is what I mean by making absolutely certain that we set things in motion. That we set things in motion and lead the way to it. Now, what do we got here? Operation, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And yeah, Jaden, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is I try and keep up with things. Doesn't always work. But I do my best to catch up. And absolutely, if you've got a question, absolutely, people, remember to put it into all caps so I can find the thing. Well, Ryder, glad you could join us. And much as you are right, I see you said everyone's a winner. Everyone is. But unlike modern society, I do not give a gold to everybody. Okay, everybody's a winner. Everybody benefits. And if I get my way, which is seldom the case, everyone in this chat room is safe. But this is why I turn to the monitors and go, if there's a problem child, do me a favor and get rid of them before they're a problem. The reality of it is we have a choice right now. Now, in case you hadn't noticed in today's world, leadership is, to say the least, a shambles. We know this because we have taxes going up. We have people screaming about inequality, about housing prices. The list goes on. Okay, what I'm not seeing people push, especially in the so-called leader positions, is they are not pushing the idea of community respect, of dealing with your neighbor in a positive fashion. Okay, there is so much push towards the idea of how can we make this more uncomfortable. We can try speaking, but that's apparently not working well. The general consensus, I was told a while ago, that where humans run into their biggest problem is they've lost their humanity. They've misplaced this idea of working together. Now, when I said I was going to get this and this office sorted out, I mentioned specifically this little dresser here. Well, as you can tell, the stuff that was on it is no longer there. Half of it's packed up to go. The other half is packed up to actually leave the building. The other half is already in the shredder. Now, what is that? Have to wait for that to come up. I know you've written something there, Woo, but quite frankly, it hasn't shown up yet. Oh, okay, I didn't see the other part of it. That's okay. Yeah, the moment we start pushing the idea of, hey, when is the government going to come out and tell us what's going on? I have a simple statement for that. Good luck with that idea. But let's take a look at what we're doing here. Now, I stole a phrase just yesterday, and personally, I like it. And that is building a new world order. But I am not talking about a political movement. I am not talking about let's get the government to join hands and actually start thinking. I'm talking about us as individuals. Now, when I'm talking about leadership, if I'm going to tell you this method works, okay, then if I can show you that it works, this is so much better. Okay, the one question I do have for you there, well, you mentioned the hearing was very bad. I am curious if people actually listened to each other when they were talking, or if they just talked over each other. Which in my experience is usually the case. But I'm looking at building a world. Now, right now, I'm cutting it real tight. I'm trying to pull off something that is, well, in a nutshell, I'm pulling money together where I don't actually have much of an income in order to make a couple of things happen. One way or another, I'm going to do it. When we're talking about leadership, we are talking about saying you're going to do something, laying out a plan, at least for yourself, and then going forth and literally doing what you said. This here is an obvious example. Now, there's how to use that properly. Can't quite reach. I mentioned I was going to clear it. It's clear. There's 9 drawers in it, 5 of which I think have been identified, have been delegated. But the whole catch to changing this world is for you to take care of your life. In other words, take care of the goals you have and make them a reality. Okay? Leadership is not about getting the biggest votes. It's not about having the biggest banner. Oh, where are we here? What's going on? I'm in front of Publix grocery store, and a homeless man just lifted up the cigarette wasting and grabbed some used cigarettes. I had to give him a fresh cigar. Well, I appreciate that, Woo. The reality of it is you didn't have to, but I'm glad you did, in a manner of speaking. Here's a neat little news flash for you guys. I came across this about 15 years ago. Well, I came across it. The Canadian Health Authority came up with a brilliant statement. Number one cause of lung cancer, according to them 15 years ago, was, you got it, breathing. Okay, they didn't say the cause of lung cancer was smoking or carcinogenics from exhaust. It was literally just breathing. Now, I personally at that point went, you want to smoke, that's your issue. So one thing I never did start. But the one time I caution you again, caution people against smoking is literally, if you've already got lung problems, putting smoke into a damaged environment isn't necessarily a bright idea. Oh, Woo, this is why I say I'm glad you did. Absolutely, the fresh cigar has got to be better than the used cigarettes. And unfortunately, nicotine addiction is a bad physical attachment. So I mean, like, that's one thing that, from my standpoint, I look at it going, I usually find why somebody's there. But cigarettes are one of these things that once you're addicted to them, you're in trouble. However, that being said, if you are personally looking to quit drugs, drinking, cigarettes, any one of those and a number of other ones, absolutely contact me. I have a method that has been tried on literally hundreds of people, probably thousands of people at this point. Okay, to quit smoking, drugs, or alcohol with no withdrawals. Okay, I will be, as a matter of fact, I should make a note of that. Where's my list? Here we are. I've got an article written. I'll put it in the January's edition of Positive Perspectives. It's just I gotta make the note for myself to make sure I get it moved. There we go. Like I said, guys, this list absolutely works like a charm. I mean, let's face it, for what is it now? It started out in about 700. So we're looking at for about 7. Somebody else will know this one better. But Santa Claus first made his run, from what I gather, I think it was about 700 AD. If that is the case, we're looking at a man that's been doing this list thing for 1,500 years. It's got to work. I think that's about right. I'm presuming that's helping. You know, I haven't looked into it myself as far as hydrogen peroxide. I'm still looking for a way to accelerate the regeneration of my own teeth. You know, now, one thing about leadership, a leader does not have to know everything. And the leader that tells you they know everything, you immediately start questioning, because obviously their ego's gotten a little big. But I'm looking at the issue of going, okay, leadership boils down to this. Now, I don't know what the dictionary says, and I'm not about to look it up at this point. But I will tell you, from my standpoint, if I don't know what I'm doing, then as a leader, I have to be willing to say, hey, look, I'm gambling on this one. If somebody's got a better idea, give me a heads up. Because the moment I start thinking that I know it all, number one, I'm dangerous. Okay, I also can't learn. As the saying goes, you cannot learn anything new if your cup is already full. Meaning, if you already think you know it all, then you're in trouble, because you automatically, by default, hinder your own learning curve. You know, so what I'm looking at now, I started on the office side of the desk, and I'm working my way that direction. Well, this dresser now is already organized, and I'm starting to work on the far side. As a matter of fact, just when I was coming and getting ready to log in, there used to be a black binder right here. It's now gone. You know, the funny part about it is that the more organized you get, the better off you are, because the energy will run a lot more smoothly for you, and you'll be able to get ahead a lot quicker. But with this in mind, as you gain control of you, it will start to affect the people around you. Okay? I had a comment by somebody the other day, actually, that told me literally, when we were looking at the linguistics, when you say, I want something to happen, okay, when you keep looking at that issue as, I really want that, the individual swapped the wording around on it and turned around, and they came to me and they said, look, you told me, use the term I desire such and such. I said, yeah, I've been telling you that for years. And the individual goes, well, I finally did it. Less than 24 hours later, the thing that they were hoping was going to happen, that they were wanting to happen, took place. Now, I'll tell you, from my standpoint, that's where I find the enjoyment. It's when I drop things into your guys' lap, you know, into people's laps, and they come back to me and say, hey, I did this, it worked. Oh, Odd question. Not that one. This book. Okay, I'm looking at shipping it to a PDF. Okay, I've got the information. I'm just wondering what your guys' idea is. Since I'm looking at turning it into digital, I'm looking at swapping it over to an 8.5 by 11 form. Okay, instead of leaving it at this size. I'm thinking as a PDF that it will be easier to work with. You won't have to do as much adjustment if you're printing it off. And on the computer, it won't matter anyway. But I'm thinking that might be an idea. So any input would be appreciated. Like I said, I wrote this to help people. Logically, I don't have all the answers on that side of it. What do you guys feel would be better? Okay, this is one of the self-help books. The first one I actually wrote, Believe in Yourself and Follow Your Dreams. Now, as it is right here, it's only 8.5 by 4.5. By 4.5? 8.5 by 5.5. Okay, but I am considering swapping it around to a standard 8.5 by 11 for the purposes of the PDF. But I am curious what your guys' take on that is. Well, I'm going to go through the water in a hurry today, it would seem. But I have started making headway. And like I said, it's a question of deciding, okay, what are we doing with it? How are we going to move forward? Oh, there we go. And there is the other part of it. LA's just gone. It would save shipping and handling for the purchaser and for you. So that's easy enough to do. You know, that I can swap around. As a matter of fact, let's make a note of that. I will swap that over. I found, I had an editor go through it the first time. I will tell you the editor I'm using now is mind-boggling. Well, yeah, and that is, honestly, LA, that's what Storm and I were talking about. With the PDF, we will be offering it at a lower price, also with immediate delivery. I just have to go through it because the number of spelling mistakes, spacing mistakes, spelling mistakes, the mistakes in it to me are mind-boggling. But we've already started going through it. We should have it out in pretty short order because it's gone to priority running. And that's all that. Then I just got to figure out what to do with the next part of it. But we'll piece that together as we go. The nice part about it is that once I get this done, the overhead is gone. And that's the critical factor from my end. Because, of course, obviously, and this is one of those funny little things I'm finding with marketing. It's great having certain things done. But there are certain things. I'm still a dinosaur. Okay, let's face it. And, if we were looking at retrofitting everything, I'd be right up there. I mean, let's face it. We've got computers, we've got smartwatches, we got cell phones. I still find this funny little thing, a solar-powered calculator, the most reliable thing I've got a hold of in the way of calculators. This one, I bought it way back in the 70s. So we're talking dang near 50 years ago. Okay. And it's still running on its original battery. How many electronics today will run 50 years? Never mind 5. Or maybe I should put that the other way around. How many people will have a electronic device that runs 5 years without a hiccup. Never mind 50. Okay, this is why I hang on to this thing going, nope, I'm not getting rid of it. It's handier than heck. Now, I know what that is. This is why I say, when I offer options, these are what I am doing. If they apply to you and you can put them to use, absolutely do so. But don't just take my word for it. Do your own research. Okay. The reality of it is, when I look at the effort that I'm putting that is being put out there, I'm not intending at this point. I'd love to be a millionaire. I'd love to be a multimillionaire, but here's the kicker. I bring in $1 million. I can quite easily turn around and push 800,000 of it back into the community. And bear in mind, we are a global community here, which means I've already figured this one out. Okay. I haven't been able to do it. But this funny little thing here. Now, everybody knows you have to pay. Yeah, don't doubt their operation. I'm thinking this one, I kid you not, it gets used daily. Bear in mind, I play Dungeons and Dragons. And I work on accounting books and what have you. So the calculator is always on the go. Even using Excel, I prefer this over a lot of things. But when we start looking at advertising, okay, now right now, what do we got? Open this up. Where are we? Oh, it's 15, 16, 17, and 52 is 69. Now, everybody knows if you're putting advertising out, it's going to cost, you've got to pay somebody for it, usually. Now, Facebook, fortunately, doesn't charge you to just put things out there. I can get word out to a degree. And obviously, with positive perspectives, I can certainly advertise. I don't know about the world operation, but I really do appreciate that. I came to the conclusion I can comfortably live on $2,500 a month. Okay, that's including paying for my apartment, utilities, insurance, food, the whole 9 yards. Okay, I can comfortably live on that. Why do I have to have $1 billion a year profit? Okay, one of the things that has always bothered me when I'm looking at the work I do, especially when I look at writing. Okay, you pay an artist, you get an artist to do your pen to do the front cover, or for the work. You pay them for it, and in today's society, it is normal. It is actually normal. You pay the artist, they go their way, and you start making money off their work. Well, I have a minimum I've got to draw. Last month, like as in November, this month, I think is the first month in years that I've made $2,500. Okay, which is why I haven't been sending out money and what have you yet. Because I've got to take care of my own living expenses, keep a roof over my own head first. But rest assured, one thing I did figure out, now, everybody knows about advertising. Okay, at least the principle behind it. In my case, I figured out, well, let me ask you this. How many companies or how many of you have ever heard of somebody that actually tracks and is set up to pay word of mouth advertising? I don't mean a referral fee. I don't mean coupons. Okay, I mean money where you do with it what you will. And that's got to be changed. put my pen down. This is why I keep this thing, because while I'm working on it, while I'm working on things, I'll come up with an idea and go, oh, gotta do that. So that's how that goes. See, and again, this is one of those things I look at. Okay, everybody's upping their prices. We're going to make it more expensive because the cost of living is climbing. Well, of course the cost of living is climbing. Everybody raises their prices. So what did I do? I looked at and went, well, let's see. I've been paid $2,600 an hour for my consulting fees. Okay. And, that includes things like this little tip. Now, I am looking at ways of bringing it down. Well, my consulting fees, I took from $2,600 an hour to $80. That's a 97% drop. Now, I don't know, but I think that's a reasonable discount. Oh, perfect. So, yeah, I didn't figure I was the only one that did it, but I didn't realize Steve did. But it's funny, Steve Jobs came up with an idea. He went, this is the computer you require. Here it is. Come and get it. Well, I'm going to tell you from everything I've seen, from the number of different self-help books I've read, from some of the biggest names, this simplify, and I've had lots of people tell me, believe in yourself and follow your dreams, simplifies all of it. I'm a firm believer that my teacher taught me at one point. Okay, my business teacher told me simply, keep it simple, stupid, the KISS method. Now, I personally prefer keep it simple, silly. Okay, now I don't know how you're going to be silly. I don't even know if I know how to be silly. But I was also told if you can't explain something in simple terms, you don't know it well enough. Well, this particular book gives you 4 steps. My hands don't work, mind you. This particular book, 22 pages. Now, I've seen a lot of self-help books. And yes, I am writing one that is literally believe in your leadership. Okay, like I said, I've got 34 in queue that I'm working on. This is simply believe in yourself. This shows you the backbone to how I took my life from I am such a wreck. I am such a worthless, useless, and there's a whole lot of words I could use. Let's not go there. To I am sitting here telling you I know exactly how to get out of the mess you're in. And it doesn't matter what the mess you're in is. There are ways around it. Now, I don't know all the ins and outs of legal things. I know what to look for. But I do not know all the laws available. And some of the laws I know, you really got to wonder why they're there. But when I said everything is connected, it's very simple. If I can pass on just a few tips that make sense, that will make your life better, and subsequently the lives of those around you better, then why should I sit on it? Why should I tell you, look, this is to me common sense. Yes, an honest day's pay for an honest day's work. LA, ultimately it's both. But here's the kicker. When I talk about leadership, understand if you're not following your own rules, you're not a leader. If you're laying, not in my eyes, if you're saying, do as I tell you, not as I'm doing, Okay, that's not leadership, that's control. Okay, when I tell somebody this is the path I'm walking, it's literally the one I use. Okay, but you have to believe in yourself in order to believe in your leadership. Because if you don't believe you're capable, it's going to come across as you try and lead other people. But that is nonetheless a good question and something to keep in mind. Because you got to remember, a leader does not know everything. And therefore, when a leader says, this is what we should do, somebody's got to make the decision, certainly. But if you're sitting in the background and you hear this idea and you go, that's not going to work because I know this is going on, the leader may not know everything going on. And therefore, it is up to him to listen when somebody comes up with a viable reason or viable objection, if you will. Okay, again, leadership boils down to making educated decisions. And that doesn't mean just doing it because, well, I said that's the way I want it done, so that's the best way. Certainly, I said that's the way to do it. I will tell you, I tell people, put a smile on your face. The reality is, I don't as often as I should. Certainly not around the house. But then, this really boils down to an excuse. I've been under a staggering amount of stress and fighting severe depression for the last couple of years. You'll notice I'm standing here going, yes, I've been fighting with it, but I'll be danged if I'm going to give in. One of the things we have to remember here is that if you're going to reclaim power over your life, you're going to have to be the one to really sit down and go, okay, what am I not content with? Point in fact, yesterday, I was not content with this counter. Okay, didn't like the fact it was covered. You'll notice it's no longer covered. This is what I mean by get up and move. Okay, because the reality is, if you don't, your life stays the same. And for those that look up to you, if you're not getting up and making moves, changing things to make things happen, okay, if you're not doing that, if you're sitting there going, oh, somebody else, please come down and straighten out my mess, I'm telling you, look at your feet first thing in the morning. Ask yourself, if you're not a millionaire or you're not a leader of a religious faction, who's putting your socks on? That's the one responsible for getting you up and mobile. Now, if you're in a position where you're not physically able, that's where you ask for help. You're still the one controlling who gets your socks on. Okay, we can't all do everything. Rest assured, you don't desire to have me up on a roof, trying to do a roof. You just don't desire me to be up there, unless you're really cruel or really interested in a shower in your living room. The fact of the matter is, we have a golden opportunity right on our fingertips, right this moment, where we can turn around and say, okay, our life can stay doing what it's doing, or we can make a change. But it's up to us. One of the biggest things you got to ask, are you content with your life the way it is? Now, here's the thing. Am I content with my life the way it is? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay. Quite frankly, they say a man is not judged by the height to which he climbs, so much by the height to which he has climbed, so much as from the depths out of which he has climbed. I couldn't get much closer to the bottom without actually being homeless. Okay. But I am now absolutely committed to going, I'm moving forward. and I'm taking every single one of the people that desire to rise with me along with me. Okay, I won't do the work. I will simply go, here's the tools that I utilized. They worked for me, they worked for thousands of others. It's up to you to pick it up and check it. Like the first tool in this book is literally put a smile on your face. Okay, you put a smile on your face, whether it's forced, painted, natural, doesn't matter. Get it there. Okay, as I said before, let's start a pandemic. Okay, that pandemic, simply go and smile at somebody. Heck, go to the mirror and smile at that person. Now, I'm not about to give you an all toothy smile because, well, frankly, I ain't got many of mine left. But it is time to start making things happen. And that is up to you. Okay, the reality of it is, if we are going to change this world, let me ask you this. Are you content when you turn on the news and you hear so-and-so's at war, so-and-so's embezzling, so-and-so ripped off the company retirement fund, so-and-so shot so-and-so? Does this make you happy at all? Okay, now I'm sure there's some people you hear, oh, so-and-so got shot, they're no longer a problem for me. I'm certain that happens. But remember, every one of these people is a person. Okay? And there clearly has to be something good in them. Okay? Because every individual in existence has some good, some bad, some neutral. All I'm looking at when I talk about stepping finally into a leadership position is I'm looking at it and going, okay, if I'm going to tell you this is what I'm going to do. Leadership is led by example. Go back to the Middle Ages. Some of you, please. But back in the Middle Ages, when a king said, we're going to war, the king was out in front. Okay. The king didn't sit behind an oak desk going, I'm going to push this button if you don't bow down and kiss my toenails. Okay. The king got up and did the work. Okay. Hence why you're seeing the change in here. Now, there's a number of things I've got to organize. And of course, my inventory shelf over here will be the next one to go. I've got one more 5-shelf bookshelf that has all my inventory on it. I am curious since I'm looking at it. I'm just curious because of the fact, well, that's the way I am. Hey, would you look at that? Now, this is just how quick things can change. See if that's actually deep enough. Don't actually know if it is. It is. Now, that's how fast things can shift. Okay. Had some stuff over there on my inventory shelf that didn't have to stay there anymore. So I moved it. And this is what I mean when we are talking about if you're going to be a leader. Start by declaring to yourself, this is where the list comes in. Okay. By putting things on the list. I do not like the fact that I've got hiccups right now. They make it really difficult to talk and painful. You start with the list because that will help keep you accountable to you. So, I've got a few things to do as soon as I get done this stream. Okay. When you're looking at reclaiming power over your life, you're the one that's got to do it. You can talk to anybody you'd like, pray to anybody you'd like, hope that the aliens will come down and straighten your world out. Or you can go, I'm no longer content. This is what I'm doing. Okay. Now, to give you an idea, I had a number of things over here on the shelf. As you already know, well, there we go. Joe goes, the only thing I know is whenever I wake up in the morning, whenever that is, I do give myself enough time to gather myself, and then the dream that I do have, I grab my dream journal. And the reality there is you're starting it in the right way. I do something very similar. I get up in the morning, right? As soon as I get up, usually at a stupid hour at this point, okay, I get up, do what I have to in the washroom, I get back, and almost immediately fill in my journal, okay, from the day before, for exactly the same reason. It gets that sorted out. And right now, I wonder if I know I can do it, because I've done it before. I take a look at where's my journal. HI, there we are. The journal that I've got right now. Well, there it is. Just gotta wait for it to get to the end. We go Control End. Right now, my journal is 107 pages long. But understand, that's 107 pages that started off in 1994. I've still got a staggering amount of backlog journal entries to do. Okay, but this is all being put down one step at a time to cover as much of my history. And the only reason for it is to turn around and go, okay, when I go, my kids will have the journal. They can look through it and get to know what was going on in my head at the time. Some of it may be a bit of a shock to them. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I hide things from them so much as when I'm fighting my depression, I do my best not to drag them into it. Now, where are we? There we are. I've got two monitors here, which is what throws me for a loop on occasion. But when I'm talking about leadership, okay, if you're going to, you've got one of two choices, because people only have two positions in life. You're either a leader or you're a follower. Now, do understand, a leader still has to follow certain things, and karmic law holds sway over everybody. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. By following these three karmic laws, which apply to everybody, God himself is affected by it. Okay? And he's the one that set the whole dang thing in motion. Now, when you take a look at that, okay, a leader takes a look in the mirror and goes, what do I desire to attain that I can make happen? Not what am I going to wait for to happen? Because here's what goes on. I waited for other people to show me how to market. Okay. The so-called professionals cost me thousands, netted me nothing. Okay. I turn around, Storm steps up and offers to give me a hand to set something up. Okay. Cost me nothing. And I've made hundreds. Okay. Now, which is the better ratio? Pay a so-called professional for services they don't render, or get somebody that is not asking for a whole pile of money. They just go, this is what I can do. Can we get this set up? Now, the reality is, and I'm going to get flack for this one later. Okay. I'm going to get flack for this later. When things start to come around, once the finances start to turn, you can bet your bottom dollar there are 3 or 4 individuals that have really stepped up to the plate to make sure I keep breathing. And you get to figure out which one of the people that you guys know is responsible for that. And the ones that are helping with the tech side, with government issue, these people are going to be compensated after the fact, obviously, because I frankly don't have it right now. See, I've got a journal around here somewhere. Okay, the earliest journal I think I kept was 1986, 87. And I do have the book itself of that. And it will eventually get turned into this as well. So again, these are tools I personally use. That's why I call it leadership. Okay. And when you treat people the way you desire to be treated, you get far better response from people. Okay. I know if you go in and you can, I don't recommend you try this. This is a bad idea. One of you geniuses is likely to do so. But go into a restaurant, treat the waitresses like garbage, and see how well you get served. Or go in, treat the waitresses like people, treat them decently, and see how well they treat you. Here's a neat idea. Anybody got any idea at all what is the most powerful word in any language when dealing with customers or with dealing with other people? What is the most powerful word across the board? Okay, to the best of my knowledge, there's no word that is better. There's no word that's more powerful. But these are things that I look at. And again, when we're dealing with the leadership side, when you're talking to somebody and you're striving to get a point across, start with something positive. Put something negative in the middle and end with something positive. Why, you ask? Here's the reason. People remember the first and last thing they hear. Okay, on the whole. What ends up happening, you start off with a positive note, you bolster their feelings. Okay, you hit them with a negative thing, and yeah, it'll bring it down a little. But that's why you hit them again with a positive. It lessens the damage of the negative. And again, always, always, always praise in public. Maximize the positive. Minimize the negative. You notice this is kind of a common theme in this. It's also the way I live my life. Yeah, it definitely does. Joe goes, oh, believe me, dream journaling does pay off if you just keep at it. And that is the whole thing. When I was talking the other day about making certain you're successful, you've got to be persistent. You've got to stay focused on it. Because if you don't, you're going to run into a problem. And you will lose momentum. I used to be in better shape. I ended up dumping into a real bad depression and gave up on my exercise. I'm paying for it now, so I'm back at it. As you can see, I'm doing the one-arm curls. Mind you, this is H2O, not fire whiskey OO. or more to the point, firewater. But we are looking at a world right now where we can rely on the so-called leaders, the so-called industry moguls. We can rely on these people that call themselves the best of the best. Oh, I'm so special. I've got this degree. I'll tell you, a guy that he literally had 4 business cards, all with 5 or 6 lines of degrees on them. And what he told me was, look, anytime you see somebody with a set of numbers after the name, the only thing that functionally tells you, and granted this was only one person's opinion, but it rings true with me. The only thing those letters behind the name tell you is they had a good memory at the time they wrote the test. Okay, it doesn't mean they're all that bright. Let's face it. Parrots can mimic whatever people say. Minor birds repeat them consistently. And if I recall correctly, if you split the tongue on a crow, they can talk as well. But now what we're looking at is how do we take all of this and make it happen? And yes, I am actually going back through positive perspectives, pulling out the number of different articles and lining them up into smaller booklets containing it. You know, the funny part is I'm not the first one to do this. Dungeons and Dragons years ago had something called Dragon Magazine, and they put out a new animal in each one. And eventually they took all of those animals and pulled them together under one roof called the second edition Monster Manual. Okay, so it dawned on me that I've got all these hard copies. As a matter of fact, why don't I do that? This here, well, that was nice. This here is all of the Positive Perspective magazines that we've got. Okay, all the way from the very first one of July 2023 to this last one that's just gone out, which is November 2024. But that's all of them. So I'm going to be going through them and compiling, seeing what I've got in the way of ongoing articles that I can put together and release. Because the reality is, it's all there. It's information. Yes, it's scattered all over the place. But let me ask you this. Which is easier from your standpoint? Going through each newsletter to find the article, or just going, okay, I'm looking for information on how to improve my family. Here's the articles all lumped together. So this is what I'm working on. Okay, and it just dawned on me the other day. Yeah, I think it was the other day that I've got all this information. I'm absolutely intent on getting it out to the public because the reality is, I die, it all goes with me. Okay, so I kind of have to get it out, or it gets lost. Just a thought. But in your guys' eyes, does this sound like a viable option? Or does it sound more like a waste of time? And while you think about that, I'm going to go get some more water.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy. The chocolate bars and the candy. So let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
And we are back. So, like I said, let's see what we got here. We go. Yeah, I still like that all of that one. I'm really glad that Storm found that particular information for us. You know, because Renee's just showing here she likes all the popcorn and what have you. I'm not that fond. I'm not really that fond of popcorn. It definitely goes. Wow, what did we do that? Yeah. There we go. So I get for refreshing my screen. You start yelling at me. You know, the neat part about it, what do we got here? I'm just looking at the icon that LA Moon put out. Looks like dancing cats, quite frankly. But when we are talking about leadership, okay, the way you conduct yourself in public is a way of indicating leadership. It shows people a different way to communicate, to carry yourself. Now, one of the hardest things I've found with most people is literally to look in the mirror and acknowledge their own shortfalls. This is why I tell people, if you're looking for a politically correct answer, I'm probably not the right person to ask. I sometimes know what is politically correct. I seldom care. Because the way I look at it, if I'm going to worry about whether you're going to be upset with the way I say something, it's not going to come out effectively anyway. And for those of you that are worried about it, this is the fourth time I filled this today to give you an idea whether I'm staying hydrated. Did I miss anything over there? No. Oh, that's what I can do with those. I am curious what this all is. And because of that, it boils down to taking a look at it and going, what am I going to do with it? This, needless to say, just pulled it off there so I can clear it off. By dragging it out of the way, I can literally go, okay, this stack, I'll put it there just because I don't feel like getting up for the moment. Okay, and it'll get worked on as soon as I get done the stream. Because I desire it to be off the bat. I've got the rest of this sorted out. When we're looking at leadership, okay, once you've got an area clear, keep it that way. It takes a while to get everything reorganized. If you're not emptying the entire area, it takes a while to get it organized. But once you've got it organized, keep it clear, keep it organized so you don't have to deal with it. This is why I've got so much that's being reorganized. Or maybe I should say organized in the first place. Now, with that in mind, it's a real simple issue. I'm going to be, I've got a couple of things I've got planned. In spite of finances being as tight as they are, I will tell you, whenever you get into a bind, oh, there we go. Thanks so much for that, Ellie. Ellie's just letting us know that with chat dropping means the internet's getting hiccuped. Okay. And from what I gather, given the number of storms in the area, that's not entirely surprising. But just picture what would happen if Storm got upset. Okay. We'd have the same problem with the internet if it got upset in the right fashion. So quite an apropos name when you think about it. But when you look at it, when you desire your life to change, you're the one that's going to have to take dominant control. Yeah, what do I got here? See, I've got a number of things. I'm going to be up for a while tonight. Now, I strongly recommend do not follow a pace I do. Okay, I was up this morning at 5. Was up until 3, and then back up at 5 this morning. Okay, so when I talk about setting a pace, I set one that works for me. Okay, not one that necessarily works for you. But as long as you're feeling productive, this is the important factor. Storm goes, I promise to never use my powers for evil. Revenge, however, is wide open. Yep, no doubt. It's a good thing I try that my temper tends to focus on the vocal side. I've got a buddy whose temper tended to focus on a physical side. I remember one day he had to go to anger management. He was forced into an anger management course. He's up on the second story, on the second floor, which where the course was. He was standing out on the balcony, and another student there, another person taking anger management, deliberately bumped into my buddy. My buddy didn't react well. I mean, he reacted well. He threw the guy off the second floor. The guy lived. Didn't even break anything from what I gather. But to say his temper was a little out of hand was an extreme understatement. Now, in my case, I am saying what I'm doing is going, okay, I'm changing my world now. And it's my hope that I can share this with you so that you can change. If you're not content with your life, with the world we're living in, when we get a number of little pockets of people changing things in their area, the ripples will eventually overlap. That's when we can change society. We don't have to wait for the election to come about to start. We don't have to wait for the next CEO to take over. We don't even have to wait for the next waitress to come down the pike. All you got to do is go, I'm no longer content with it this way, so I'm changing my reaction to it. Okay, now the reality is you're the only one you can change the reaction for. You can certainly encourage a reaction from others, okay, but you cannot yourself change it, in all likelihood. And yes, there are exceptions. And this is why I say I have chosen to not only go on a vocal side and go, I'm here to encourage you and to show you that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. That came out clear like mud. Okay, so with this in mind, if you choose to follow the same steps I'm following, you will find your life changes pretty much as quickly. But it's going to take time, effort, persistence, patience. You get the idea. Okay, so what do you say? You think we can start off a brand new world order heading off with a pandemic? There's a new idea. Not really. Let's change the world for the better by starting a pandemic. I'm not sure, but the last pandemic that the leaders let loose wasn't all that beneficial in my eyes. This one will be. Okay. Now, like I said, we start the pandemic by, oddly enough, smiling. Okay. Now, and quite seriously, when I look at this, okay, believe in yourself and follow your dreams. Literally, that's the first key. Start smiling. Okay. Your life may be in absolute shambles. Start smiling. Okay. Once you've done that, what do we got? Then you go inside and start looking at what you're not content with. Okay. A leader does not sit there and go, you need to change this, you need to change that. What a leader does is says, I'm not happy with, so this is what I'm doing to change it. Now, I've already paved the way. I've already shown you this works. Now, follow along. I mean, think about it. You know, have you ever watched ducks? Okay. Ducks go wandering along and then the mother will head off. She doesn't come back and tell everybody to get up. What she does is she goes, follow me, and she heads off down the road. And everybody runs after her. That's what I'm doing. Okay, I believe the Pied Piper of Hamelin did something similar with the mice, except he didn't scritch at the ground. He simply played a pipe. Okay, I'm not going to play a pipe unless you call this a pipe. Of course, this does make it very difficult to talk. You know, but the pipes, your vocal cords have been referred to for centuries as pipes. So yes, if we talk about my saying, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm offering to the world. Come join me. Give us a hand. Let's prove to the world. Let's show them by example that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Okay. Now, the reality is there are so many people that will sit there and go, it can't be done. And there's a saying that goes hand in hand with that. It would be really nice if those saying it can't be done would keep quiet, sit down, out of the way of those that are already doing it. One of the things I have come to the understanding of is, and this is called touting my own horn, I do know how to write. Okay. I have a much better editor than I am a writer. But what she's doing is she's going through it and making certain that it is grammatically correct, that there's not all kinds of extra spaces, that there aren't a whole pile of redundancies in Word. She's not altering the story. Okay, but a good editor doesn't alter the story. So, what we're working on here is altering the story of everybody connected herein. It is time to make this world, to remake this world in a positive environment, to show people by example, to lead people by example into a much brighter tomorrow, a much more cooperative tomorrow. Okay, the one thing that we have to remember is change is not difficult. Okay, prime example, pen. Here's change. I don't desire it in my right hand anymore. I desire it in my left hand. So I'm going to take it and watch this. Really painful, really difficult. See how hard that was? And you notice I'm lying on the ground writhing in agony. Change is simple. Change is easy. But it does have to be guided. Now, I presume, I don't know what LBJ stands for, but LA's gone. During the LBJ administration, Lady Bird decided to run a garbage campaign, literally asked people to pick up the trash. Everybody kicked in, including and especially the children. Absolutely, but you know what happened up here when that happened? Up here, somebody pulled the same thing. And all of a sudden, the city workers were up in arms. You're taking away our jobs. It is everybody's job to pick up the garbage. Like I've said, one person dropping a candy wrapper on the ground. Oh, there we go. Thank you very much for that. Ellie's just going with Johnson after Kennedy. Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson. There we go. If one person in a city of 100,000 throws a candy wrapper on the ground, that's not a big problem. When 100,000 people do it, you've got one heck of a mess. Okay? And the reality of it is, it's my landlord's job to keep the lobby clear, the lobby in my apartment block clear. Yet every time I come through it, if I see the paper, the junk papers on the counter, I pick them up, and depending on which direction I'm going, I have to bring in my recycling box in the lobby or in my house, or I take them straight out to recycling. Net result, every time somebody leaves a bag of groceries there, and that happens a lot, my landlord phones me up and goes, Keith, there's a bag of groceries down in the lobby you might want. And the neat thing is, most of what they drop off I can use. I tried something just 2 days ago. I usually make a rice pilaf. I'll take one form of meat or another. Always dead. But I added something different to it this time. I added a couple of apples to the pilaf. And my son turned around and told me it was the first time he'd had the pilaf where he really enjoyed it. So, like I said, I'm looking at this going, what I talk about doing, I'm already doing. And yeah, that was what I thought. My landlord is great from that end. I've been here a decade, and I figure, yes, the lobby's his job. But here's what I don't get, and I absolutely am appalled by it. Okay, when I've got the money, I will eventually, it is in the plans, to buy an apartment building. Absolutely I will. But here's the thing that appalls me about every apartment building and every apartment owner I've known. Okay, they hire a manager to do the job. Okay, they put them in the apartment and they still charge them half rent. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm going to open an apartment block and I'm going to have somebody handle it, I'm not charging them rent. They're working for their rent. And rest assured, they work a lot harder than the other side of it. But there are so many things that are wrong with the way this world is being dealt with. We have to change it ourselves. We cannot wait. Well, we can wait for somebody to grow up and figure it out. But let me ask you this. I'll ask you the same thing I was asked myself when I asked my guides. I asked, why me? Right. They turned around and said, if not you, who? If not now, when? Okay. Net result, I looked at and went, we're moving forward. Because we can sit here and wait for the cows to come home. We can wait for the sun to rise on a new day. Okay, we absolutely can. Thus far in the last 7,000 years, it hasn't helped a lot. Never mind the amount of time before that. So, from my end, it's real simple. We're moving forward now. Like I said yesterday, this shelf was going to be cleared. It's been cleared. Now it's just a question of moving forward. Now we are slowly going to make things happen. And I'll call it slowly because I don't know a better word for it. We're sitting in the mid 600s right now. I would love to see us get up over the 1,000 mark of subscribers. But I've come to the understanding, number one, there seems to be two major factors. I'm not just interested in playing games and watching other people shoot imaginary pixels. Well, the pixels aren't imaginary, but I'm not interested in playing on a video game and going, look at this game I'm playing. Okay. I am, however, seriously considering entering an online community. But the idea there is to play chess. Now, I used to be very good at it. In all fairness, I haven't played in decades. So I'm going to be starting off from a beginning standpoint and see where I go from there. One thing is for certain. If I'm going to say, yes, I'm stepping into the leadership position, I can no longer afford to give in to depression. And rest assured, my last 2 years, that's literally what it's been. I found, now, yesterday when I said I slept 10.5 hours yesterday, I don't see that as depression. I was 220 over 140 in my blood pressure with my pulse at 106. Okay. Yesterday I was worn out. And I'm sure if you've had a heart attack, an epileptic seizure, a stroke, or even heat frustration, I'm absolutely certain you know what kind of a kick that can take to your energy levels. You know, but in our eyes, it boils down to now is the time to start changing things. Not next week when somebody else moves into a position of power. You'll notice people lay out these neat little, where it comes to elections, people lay out these great big platforms and they make it sound really good. Most of the time, it seems, it's just my observation. They make all these promises, get into office, and then they sit down and do nothing. Okay. Except maybe give themselves maybe give themselves a raise. Because they haven't sat on the backside long enough doing nothing. They need more money to do it. I'm sorry, that was rude. Actually, I'm not sorry it was rude. I'm just acknowledging the fact it was. But, like I said, I'm not known for being politically correct. What I will tell you is I'm not making the commitment to you that I'm changing my world. I'm making the commitment to me. Okay? Anytime you look at the contract, look at the fine print. Double check the fine print. Okay, I'm making a contract with me. But the reality is, I desire my life to take an immediate turn for the better. That means getting an absolute rock solid grip on where finances are, on what it's going to cost me. Okay, I just got to look up a couple of things. I'm pretty certain this is believe in yourself. Oh, this is two different versions of it. That might be the issue. I am curious. Of course, I'm looking for something, can't find it. There it is. Okay, well, I'll look for that later. Anyway, I'm going to track down the ISBN number for that if I've got one, or if I don't. What that's wrong. So I got my work already cut out for me now. Yep. There we are. That solves that problem. One thing we have to remember, a leader, if you're stepping into a leadership position, who are you striving to lead? Okay. I think it was Monty Python that went, I must hurry and catch up, for I am their leader. Okay. Well, if your leader's sitting back doing nothing, this encourages people to sit back and do nothing. Hence what I'm working on now. That's why I'm looking at it going, I'm no longer content with things the way they are. So I'm going to make my life change and share with you the tools to make this happen. Now, I'm going to, in a short form, I'm going to explain to you when my eldest brother was in high school, they had their student council elections. And everybody got up and did their whole pile of speeches and their promises, what their campaign was based on, etc. And then one girl gets up to the front, right? And she's the last candidate. Okay. She walks up to the front of the podium. She taps on the speaker and she goes, it's like, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, and she goes through the normal, the normal greeting. Then she says, now, I know this has been a long, drawn-out procedure, and I'm the last one, so you'd all like to go home, but if you can bear with me for just a moment, I'll keep this as short as I can keep it, and we'll get everybody underway, and we can carry on with our night. She goes, now, so if everybody will just be quiet for a moment, that would be really appreciated. That way everybody in the back can hear. And she, it's like, okay, calm down, people. Just quiet down. Come on, people. As soon as you're all quiet, I'll continue. So everybody quiets down. She goes, great. Thank you so much. Now, everybody, stand up. It's been a long day. Just take a moment and just stand up. Give yourself a quick stretch. Just stand up. Everybody, you two over there in the corner. I know you don't have both your legs are working, so let's stand up. Okay. Everybody stand up and stretch. So everybody eventually gets stood up and stretched. And she stops and she goes, okay, now everybody, I'm just about to start, but I need you all sitting down quietly. Everybody reclaim your seats, sit down, and just sit for a half moment. I won't keep you any longer. I won't keep you much longer. Everybody finally gets sitting down. And she says, now, I've now proven to you I can get you to do what I'd like you to do. Vote for me. Have a nice night. And she walked off the stage. Now, guess what happened on the election day itself? And yeah, I will tell you. On the election day itself, this one laughs that all she did was say, I just showed you I can get you to do what I'd like. She won by a landslide. Okay? Because all she did was go, I'm going to show you what I can do, and then I'm going to ask you to support me. So what I'm doing here is essentially the same thing. I am taking my world and right in front of your eyes, I am going to start changing it. Okay, I'm going to change my world. I'm going to encourage you to do the same thing. Because when I get done with this room, you can bet your bottom dollar I'm moving out into the rest of my apartment. Then I'm going to tangle with the community around me. I'm done with this idea of sitting back waiting. Okay, waiting accomplishes absolutely nothing. Now, I'm lucky. My waiting did not cause my gray hair because it started going gray when I was 16. Of course, my dad started going gray at 14, and my grandfather, I believe, started going gray at 12. My youngest son has started, and he's 19, so he's a bit of a late bloomer. But the reality of it is, I told you guys a while back, I'm here to remind you that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Well, I'm done with the talking about it. It's time to make it happen. And of course, this is Tuesday, so we don't know yet what's going on Friday, other than I will be here. Okay, I've got a lot of things I'd like to get done, some of which are going to be a royal pain. Okay, and I'm going to push limits on some things because the finances I've got expenses I've got to deal with. I'll have to figure out how to do it. But there are things I desire to do, and they're getting done in spite of. So one thing I am going to do is take a look at what's sitting in the bin and start dealing with it as quick as I can. We are down to 27 minutes. Thank you very much there, LA. When we look at this, the idea of the leadership issue, I've started here. Okay. At the same time, because you're looking at this screen, whether you're looking at it right now while I'm live, or whether you're catching up with it, I don't know. Okay. What I do know is if you've got questions, if you've got suggestions, if you've got a topic that you'd like to look at, just drop me a line. Okay. Whether it's in the comments or it's a direct email or a text message. And again, guys, if you decide you're going to try and phone me, if you don't text me and make sure I know who you are, that your number is coming, in spite of the fact that I am telling people I will be doing the consulting side, I have taken it up again. I don't answer phones very often if it is an unknown caller, because I'm tired of the scams. I'm tired of customs phoning me up and saying, "Oh, you got a package that got held up at customs, and we need to get your name and address." I'm done with this kind of stupidity, so I just don't deal with it at all. Okay, I'm done with the problem children in the chat room. Storm has landed on them so fast that I haven't had to deal with them, and I don't think we've had any real functional problem people lately. But I have decided if I'm going to say, okay, let's step into the spotlight, it's best I actually step into the spotlight instead of just talking about it. There are those that talk the talk, those that walk the walk. I intend on being one that walks the talk. Okay? Or talks the walk, depending on how you want to look at it. But I'm going to be doing both. As you can tell, because I've already started clearing things. And now it's a question of deciding what's going to go where to make it work right. I saw something flicker, which could have been my eyesight. Yeah, LA goes, they've mostly given up and gone to find finer hunting grounds. You know, the reality of it is, the reality is by doing this and by finding out from those of you that share, okay, we can encourage an entire generation or two. Now, I'm 61. So I might have, if I push it, now I'm aiming for 137 years. Okay, I really am. But it seems that my family let's see. My one brother was dead at 52, one at 64, mom and dad at 81. Okay, my grandmother, on the other hand, was 95 when she passed. So I could have a fair chunk of time here. I believe the old saying was chaos, bedlam, pandemonium. My job is done. No, wait a minute, that's gaming. That was Jeremiah. Actually, that's the funny thing with Jeremiah. Very much a pacifist. And as you can tell, so am I. Mind you, hats off to those of you who have stepped up as first responders and the military. Those of you that stepped up and said, hey, I'm going to protect my family, my community, my country. Hats off to you. Being epileptic, the government said, nope, sorry, automatic weapons and epilepsy, not a good combination. Now, on the other hand, if you're completely off the rail, we can teach you how to use explosives. Okay, I don't get it. I'm not government. Okay, and that said, I am not the government, but I am here to assist you. Okay, but the way I intend on assisting you is going, here's the path I'm following, light the torch. And as a comedian once put it, if you want to follow me, okay, this is what I look like from behind. The reality of it is, when you're changing the way your world is working, it is absolutely critical that you decide what you're not content with and make changes to those things. Okay, I'm not content with a lot of things, but the one thing we do have to remember is that this world can be either heaven on earth or hell on earth. Your call which one you desire it to be. Personally, I'm done with the hell on earth thing. I've had enough of the stress. I had a client call today that was an absolute emotional wreck because of what's going on around her. Okay, lots of you are going through turmoil. Lots of you are lost. Okay, I'm a bit scattered myself, but at least I've got an idea. There we go. LA goes, Storm's pretty good at taking out the trash to the place where they've taken out themselves. Yeah, very much. The neat part with Storm, I've heard people call Storm a bully, and I'm like, I look at Storm more like an intellectual bodyguard. And rest assured, if you've ever seen the guy, intellect, yeah, he's got that in spades. Size, not doing too shabby on that one either. But what we are looking at here is I can continue to sit back and do nothing, which I did for way too long. Okay, I've known for a long time what I'm supposed to be doing here. Supposed to, as in I set it in motion. Whoop, wrong. There we go. So I'm looking at this world now going, okay, let's get started with this. First and foremost, okay, if you haven't done it already, take these 4 words, get them on your fridge tonight. I am worth it. These are the 4 most powerful words in combination in any language I've come across, where it comes to building self-esteem, self-confidence, self-motivation, self-education. You get the idea. Okay? Start there. Where possible. And I will tell you, I don't smile a lot, but a lot of that is, quite frankly, because showing my teeth is not something I'm happy with. Okay? But we lead by example. So what you're going to find over the next little while is this disaster that I call an office behind me. Now, I call it a disaster. If you look at my earlier videos, you'll see this is phenomenally more advanced. Okay? But I am absolutely asking for your assistance to spread word to everybody that we are now mobilizing. We are no longer sitting here going, let's just talk about the positive side of life. Let's activate the positive side of life. Okay, let's maximize the positive and minimize the negative. Yes, positive perspectives does have a bad news section. And it goes something to this effect, because I'm not getting up to get it again. But it goes something like this. We at Inner Voice Enterprises freely acknowledge bad things happen in the world. Some to bad people, some to good people. But for more information on the bad things going on, literally find any other magazine, periodical, newspaper, social media channel, whatever. Find somewhere else to find out who ripped off who. We're looking for the stories, for the information on who helped who took care of who. Now, we do not have enough coverage. Like, we don't have a wide enough array to do some things. But you can bet your bottom dollar we are starting to push to make this happen. And yes, I'm absolutely asking you for your assistance. Now, these books signed, all of these little ones, are literally only $20 Canadian in your hand. We are working on PDF versions. Because honestly, the information is a critical factor. Now, changing the PDF format to an 8.5 by 11 sheet is going to be easy. Okay, I can do that. I'll be doing that. I think I've marked that down. Did I not? We did. Nope, that's me. Yep, we've already got that marked on a list. So that'll be done before tonight's over. The neat part about this is, I don't know about you, but having come out of that kind of a spike and having watched other people go through it, okay, I'm not interested in leaving this world in the kind of shambles it's in anymore. Okay, am I the best of the best? Heck, I'm barely functional in being me. Am I one of the more stubborn on the planet? Probably. As evidenced by the fact I wouldn't even take a diagnosis of being dead seriously. It's like, oh, I'm sorry, you're dead. No, don't agree. Still too many people left to take off. Oh, Rory, how you doing? Didn't catch you coming in. Welcome aboard. And what we got? Rory's going. Last night it rained. In the morning with a crow. In the morning across my driveway there was a large puddle with a crow bathing in it. Now please tell me you didn't let the cat out. The reality is, we require the rain obviously, but seeing something like that reminds us that good things still happen. Even when, even with all of this stuff going on, here we have, and, I gotta thank you, Rory, for that kind of an image. Because anything that helps people feel better. Okay, that just brings to mind something of another bird I saw one day. You guys know what a pedestrian crosswalk is. Okay, anybody that is, that's around knows what a pedestrian crosswalk is. Well, this one day I'm driving towards this pedestrian crosswalk, and they hit the crosswalk, so it's flashing. So I stopped the car, and we got a bunch of people going across the pedestrian crosswalk, which that's normal. The weird part was I watched a seagull touch down on the sidewalk and then walk across the crosswalk with the light flashing. As soon as it got across to the road, to the sidewalk on the other side, the dang thing took off. And my first thought was, well, thanks for working to obey the laws. But if you're going to do that, it is going to take you forever to get across the city. I just looked at this going, animals can be such incredible creatures. Okay, some show striking intelligence. And then I watch the way people are. And I'm going, how did they become the dominant source? In our case, what we're going to do is we're just going to set about turning the lights on. Okay, and going, this is what we've got to do. That's just the way that life is going to go at this point. Now, hopefully something will happen and everything will fall into place for me. Because right now, the stress I've been under has been phenomenal. The stress you're under has been mind-boggling. Now, I can't do a thing about the stress you've been under. What I can do is turn the lights on and guide you, lead you into a much brighter tomorrow, where working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. And it doesn't matter whether you're black, green, white, pink. Doesn't matter if you got 15 tentacles. And in all fairness, I haven't seen many people like that. Unless you call the Sundays. Okay. But I can absolutely turn the lights on. And it's time to do so, not just here, but in the world at large. And yeah, I'm a little stubborn. Okay, I know this. I'm not the most politically correct individual. Might be close to the least. But the newsletter, December's is already written. I'm actually working on January's right now. But December's is already done. It'll be coming out within the week. Well, more to the point, it'll be coming out before the end of November here. Okay, but it's good to go. There have been some submissions to it, so I've absolutely moved it in. Yeah, very definitely, Operation. And sadly, I was told when you're dealing with government, you gotta know the right way. You gotta ask the right questions. Problem is, most of us don't know the right questions. So I'm just changing the rules and going, these are the questions I've got. Now somebody come back with an answer. Okay. I'm not expecting a lot of, shall we say, proper feedback because I've seen the way that expectation turns out. But it is an absolute certainty. If we can reach the younger generation, they're the ones that are going to carry things over. Now picture any city of 100,000 people. You might have 10,000 people working for the government. Okay. And maybe, depending on the city, you might have another 10,000 working for major corporations. This still leaves you with 80,000 people to decide whether this world is going to evolve into heaven on earth or hell on earth. The call is yours, guys. I'm just simply I'm going for the heaven on earth thing. Okay. And before anybody gets any brilliant ideas, I've already chosen my partner to spend the rest of my corporeal life with. So, politely put, I'm off the market. I am not looking for a partner. And the reason I say this is hopefully some of these geniuses that are looking at and that see this and are sending me messages on LinkedIn or on my email going, oh, we should really get acquainted. Politely put, if you're looking for a spare partner, I'm not the one you want to talk to. Okay, I will politely turn people down once, but I'm done with the idea of being politically correct about it. So it really boils down to this. As I told somebody 30 years ago, and this gives you an idea how well procrastination works. 30 years ago, I told people, I'm changing the world. I'm offering you the option of following. Okay, I'll lead the way to a brighter tomorrow. Okay, if you don't want to assist, no problem, but I'm not stopping. That said, thank you so much, people, for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you again. I'll be back on Friday from try English, from 4:30 to probably 6:30 p.m. PST. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other.